Hey, and welcome back to the Simply Fitness Podcast. I'm John Stein, and on this episode of the podcast, I had a chance to sit down and have a conversation with Sarah Khalifa, the anxiety fitness coach. We talk about so many different things, including mental health, overcoming your fear and anxiety, and starting your fitness goals, as well as using fitness as a coping mechanism for your anxiety. I had a great conversation with Sarah, and I really enjoyed the time we spent together. I know you guys will enjoy it as well.
I'm really joking. How's your day going?
My day's going great. It's my day off here, so just getting a lot of things done. How about you?
Yeah, I feel like I've been running around all day, but I'm really excited about this interview.
Awesome. I'm very excited to have you on here, and excited to, just have a nice conversation about everything. I know we kind of went a little bit about like what we're going to talk about and everything, and I think it's something that I haven't touched on yet on the podcast a lot, and I think it's definitely an area, especially with everything that's been going on lately. I think mental health has been kind of the forefront of everyone's mind,
Yes.
Now that we have some time to think about it. So I think what to start off with a little bit though, let's give everyone just kind of an overview of, who you are and what you do and everything like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, my name is Sarah Khalifa. I go by the Anxiety Fitness Coach on Instagram, and I've been a trainer for the last 3 years in person at a box gym in Boston.
Awesome.
But I recently moved to Austin, Texas.
Oh, that's
and it is, yeah. And then I had quit my job in January. And so then I was traveling and then kind of got stuck at my parents because of COVID. And I had this idea about doing, basically, I think that physical health should be talked about more in the realm of mental health as well. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I got the idea of the anxiety fitness coach. But little did I know there was so much stigma that I had around telling people that I have anxiety and kind of owning it. Mm-hmm. Like, I think I still get nervous sometimes. Ironically, it gives me anxiety. Yeah. But it's been a journey. And I think a lot of people, like you're saying, are really they're encouraged by it. And I think it breaks down people's barriers of admitting their stuff. Because at the end of the day, it is true. Everyone has mental health stuff, in my opinion. And it's just who's willing to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that when it, just saying that you have something is such a powerful and empowering thing. And people, I think we always go to those, everything's on a spectrum. Everything in life, I think people go, to the extremes. They think about if you say you have anxiety, they automatically think that it's the most crippling thing in the world, or depression, that it cripples you and things like that. And people, I think don't think people realize that everyone has, probably some level of anxiety, depression at some level, and even very high functioning people have some type of, mental health issue that they're dealing with in some way. It might not be severe, and they might be able to cope with it, but everyone's got their coping methods.
Yes, exactly. I love the way you said that. And also, kudos to you for saying on a spectrum, because I just went on a retreat, and our motto of the retreat was, it's a spectrum. And you just said it, and that was crazy. This must be a sign.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's 100% true, because that I'd like to think of that. That's kind of my whole mantra of fitness, and in every aspect of my life. It's everything is on a spectrum. It's not. I think way too many of us go to the extremes. We're on one side or the other. It's no, most of us are in that middle portion where it's not extreme or doesn't exist at all. It's mostly in that middle.
Yes, no, you're exactly true. And we know as trainers, we have people that come to us and are like, okay, I want to work out every day. I want to overhaul all my nutrition. I want, this perfect situation. And that never, ever, 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 ever works. And it doesn't work for me. I don't think it works for you. So
yeah, no, there's no perfect situation with anything when it comes to that. So let's talk a little bit about let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So why exactly did you want to tackle like the mental health aspect of, fitness and everything like that? Like what made you I know your own personal journey, you kind of spoke on that, but like what made you kind of want to be like, okay, like you're the anxiety fitness coach. Why was that the avenue that you thought like could help people a lot?
Yeah, no, good question. So again, like I just want to have a disclaimer. I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of self-resistance to naming myself that.
Mm-hmm.
And but let me go back in time. So I had always been like very shy and kind of overthought things and would fixate on things. And I dealt with, that was anxiety, but I didn't know it. I would deal with that through running or playing soccer. And when I was older, lifting. And I kind of like, you don't really know why you're doing something. But then as I got older, I was like, oh, like I feel better when I run, like something like that. So that happened. And then I had always been into sports, and that had always been my release. And like, I'm a very like quiet, nice person, but when I play sports, I'm very aggressive. So it was like this outlet, and it's always been there for me. But anyways, when I became a trainer, I had started working with my own coach, and I was going through probably one of the most stressful times in my life. So I wasn't sleeping. I was highly anxious. I was overthinking everything. And it obviously affected my training. Like I couldn't lift very well because I had only slept 3 hours last night, stuff like that. Yeah. And I kind of felt weird telling my coaches. Like eventually I would be like, hey, I have anxiety. Like I haven't been sleeping. My nutrition is bad. Like things are off. And it was always this stress of trying to tell my trainer. Yeah. So that was this one idea of, I want people to not stigmatize it and just say like, right from the get-go, hey, Sarah, like I have anxiety, I have depression. This is going to affect training, because it does. And then the other thing is also, after I became a trainer, I worked probably with 10 or 12 people, other trainers in the gym. And I really got to know them. And after a while, I started realizing that every single one of these trainers had mental health stuff. Like they had OCD, they had depression, they had anxiety, and that's why they came to training. So I was like, oh, like probably all trainers had some shitty, can I swear on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I swear a lot. So they had this shitty mental health, and that's probably why they came to training, but we all don't talk about it usually because it's stigmatized. Yeah. So those two things together, like my own trainer experience and my coworkers and my clients, right? Like my clients come stressed out too. That kind of made me feel like this is something I should do. And I'm afraid of it. So that means I should definitely do it.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely like two things that like kind of like you were speaking of that like really hit home. So like your story, like I probably just put 2 and 2 together and probably never called it anxiety, but like I was very much the same exact way. When you were talking about it, like that sounded exactly like me. Like I'm physically active my whole life. In high school, played sports, exactly the same way. I'm very outgoing with my friends, but very shy otherwise. But sports, I'm very aggressive. I'm like very competitive and I like to get after it. But I noticed like, even like as a graduate in high school, that I was like shy. I was having like this social anxiety, like meeting new people, talking to people that I interacted with. And, it took me a long time to really, over college, really try to push myself through that. And even still to this day, like I have to get myself out of that comfort zone of, dealing with that. And so I really related to like your whole story and everything like that. Like that just hit like complete home to me. I never really put like 2 to 2 together until I heard your story. And I was like, oh, wait, that's exactly kind of what like I went through the same thing.
And now you're a podcaster. That's amazing.
Yeah. I think that, I talk to my friends about this all the time because they see all this stuff I come out and like, oh, you must be really comfortable, listening to yourself or seeing yourself. And I'm like, no, like it scares the crap out of me. Like this isn't something that's easy to me. Like I do love podcasting, and I think I've really found my like niche with within, content, because I love just having these conversations with people. And this is like something that doesn't bring me anxiety, is just feel like I'm just having a conversation, where like a YouTube video is, I still create them, but it's much more difficult for me because I have to, I feel like I'm a perfectionist in that way. And like, I want it to be perfect, but it never does come out perfect. And as we all know.
Yeah, I love that you're relating to that. It's so funny that I feel like a lot of things in life training, same things, like people want to be perfect. They want to have perfect form. They want perfect results. And I understand what you're saying, because I feel that way about so I have an Instagram. First of all, it's a big deal that I even made this Instagram and claimed myself as this. But I have a lot of resistance around like posting things about it, like sharing my anxiety. But I know it's helped. Like people have come to me and said it's helped. Like I've gotten clients from it. So I know, just like working out, we know it's good for you. It's still challenging.
Yeah. It really is. So I really do, like that and everything. And the other point, now that I remember, went in, went out, the whole like fitness coaching, like, cause I agree with that 100%, because I've worked at a bunch of different facilities, and you do see it within fitness coaches that most of us do deal with these issues. Like I think clients come to coaches thinking that the coaches are perfect. And I've met a lot of coaches, and none of us are perfect. And the ones that do portray that they're perfect are probably the ones that are struggling the most, either mentally or physically, with their nutrition, their mental health, their physical health. And I think we have to get away from that, that stigmatization that you're talking about. Like, it's okay to be anxious and uncomfortable, depressed, and that's okay. Even as a trainer, even as that pedestal that we might be on, or that our clients put us on, that's okay. Sometimes we falter, and we're human, and that's okay to be.
Yes, I 100% agree. I come from the powerlifting world, which is, like big beefcake dudes. And I kind of had this vision of like, I bet there's a lot of mental health stuff going on there. So I kind of have this, I have this vision of like them talking about it, which is kind of like, even being a man, like I have so much respect for men who can talk about their mental health, as I think it's stigmatized more and harder. But yeah, that's kind of like my dream going into it. But it's funny that I have to deal with like myself, stigmatizing myself first.
Yeah, I think that's probably the first step with everyone, or with everything. It's like you have to start with yourself. It's like the people who are like wildly overweight telling other people how to lose weight. Well, if you can't take that advice yourself, you can't give it out to somebody else. It's the same thing. Like, how could you talk to someone about their mental health? How can I talk to a client about their mental health if I don't, talk about my own mental health, or, be realistic with myself about, hey, how am I feeling? How am I coping with this? Is that healthy? Is that not healthy? And, how am I going to grow and, cope with this?
Yes, definitely. It's been a learning experience, but I'm really happy that I did it so far.
Yeah, I know. I've been loving your content. I think that, being authentic, I know that's an overused word, but like just being yourself out there, it's like people notice when you're being yourself and when you're trying to be something you're not. I think that really does portray. I think, it's harder over social media, but I really do feel that like the people that grow are the people that are authentic, with their, content and their voice, not trying to be someone they're not.
Definitely. Makes sense. Sounds easy.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. That is for sure. I will 100% attest to that. It is not easy to be honest with yourself, because it really is scary. I think I tweeted out a quote and shared it on Instagram a little, like maybe last week or so, but it was like, the scariest thing you can do is to own what you're doing, because there's no one else to blame. So if there's no one else to blame, it's only you. Everything's on you. And that's a scary thing for most people. And it's easy to blame, McDonald's or your parents or, society or whatever it may be about your problems. But own it yourself. And it's a scary thing to do.
Yeah, you're talking, it sounds like you're talking about not being a victim.
Yeah.
Like not victimizing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That I would say that that's exactly what I'm talking about. You can't be the victim. You have to, kind of just own what it is and proceed from there.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I always tell my clients the first step of that is kind of like awareness, like the fact that you're just like noticing it, I think is kind of like one step ahead of some people. Some people just ignore it. They try to like cover it up with distractions or anything. I think the first part is, like you're saying, being authentic with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So how would you suggest like getting over that like fear and anxiety for like people starting their fitness goals? So like I know I've seen from people coming to me that, going to the gym or starting a diet is like very scary for them. Like their fear, I've looked people in the eyes and I've seen the fear they have of, going to a gym or being in a gym for like the first time, and that fear and anxiety. And well, what would maybe you say, or what are some like tactics that you would give someone to overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, are we talking more about like someone who's afraid? Like I see anxiety come up in many ways, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people might be afraid of the gym or people watching them in the gym, and some people might just be afraid of the process. Like one of the main questions, I guess I'll talk to that one about the fitness, like the healthy lifestyle process. I think some people come in with the fear of failing, which I think is totally human in general, because, like I'm not a perfectionist. Maybe I am, but recovering perfectionist. So I understand that. But one of the main questions, and maybe you ask it as well, is does someone think that it's possible? And now, being someone with anxiety, I think negative in a lot of situations. Just funny because people think I'm very positive. In my brain, my anxiety brain, I call it, the one that like tries to hijack the one that's confident and knows what's going on, is very doubtful. So I think people are like, oh, think positive. No, you can do it. And I agree with that. But I don't think that's possible sometimes for people with anxiety. So what I ask my clients is, do you think it's are you open to the possibility of losing these pounds, being consistent? Are you open to that?
Yeah.
So I think that's a first step. And I ask myself that, like, if I don't think something's possible, I say, are you open to that? And another thing I talk about with my client, if I can summarize in one sentence, have a plan, but let me explain it in my way. So if you see a building on the street, that's actually the second copy of a building, because the first copy of the building was in someone's mind.
Yeah.
So I talk about this with my clients. Like, if you don't see yourself doing this, or at least being open to it or having a plan in your brain, how is it going to translate? Like, you can't build a house without a plan.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So that's how I present. And both of those ideas I stole. I learned them from different places and I love them.
Yeah, no, and everything in the fitness world is been recopied or repurposed somewhere by someone at some point. Yeah. So there's very few generic ideas, nuance ideas out there. But I do definitely love that last one. Like a question that I like to ask my clients is from a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you can complete this goal? And if it's not an 8 or above, then usually I'll have them redo that goal, because if they're not confident that they're going to be able to complete that goal, or like you said, like open to completing that goal, then it's going to be a waste of their time to, try to complete it, because they're more than likely not going to succeed. And if they're not going to succeed, like that's not what we want as fitness coaches. Like we want you to succeed. Sometimes you're still not going to, life happens, things happens, body isn't, simple add and subtraction sometimes, and things are going to happen, but we want you to succeed. So I think that's a great way to, kind of deal with that. Like, are you open to succeeding, and are you confident, in the plan
Yeah. Yeah. And it, we've heard that all before, but I feel like some people, okay, this is something I've been thinking about, and I'm interested in your opinion on it.
Yeah.
That resistance. So we see a lot of resistance. We see people fall off their diet. We see people say, fuck the gym and not go for a while. And I was thinking about this, and people come to me and they're like upset at themselves. They're like ashamed and embarrassed. And sometimes I read this in another book that was saying like the resistance is part of the process. Like sometimes you have to have this strong resistance to kind of get your shit together. And I was thinking about this because I'm not thrown off by someone's resistance. Like I will notice it. I'll say, oh shit, like they're having some resistance.
Yeah.
But it doesn't deter me from believing in them. I'm like, okay, they're having some resistance. They'll get back together. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely think that that's like through the, like even if you look at a lot of behavioral models and things like that, like there's different stages of change. And I think that's a stage of change where people want to change, but maybe still have some hesitations about fully changing and accepting that change and creating that new habit. So I think over time, like that resistance is natural. And for someone who's like starting from the beginning, like it's expected. Like I would never expect a brand new client to, if they've never worked out before, hit every single workout, hit their calorie goals every day and not, falter at some point, either through their own resistance or, just through life happening. Like that's going to happen. I think that should be expected, from anybody, to have some change. Like I think about when we start a new habit or we're trying to change a bad habit, it's very difficult at the beginning. Like I like to think about like what you were just talking about Instagram, like you posting on Instagram regularly, you have that resistance in the beginning and it's probably gets a little bit easier every time you do it and eventually just becomes a habit that's easy to do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess I was just thinking, so there's this culture, I'm sure you've noticed it in the fitness realm, that's like, no excuses, no days off. And in my head, I'm like, that's bull, because like life is your excuse. And I don't know. I was thinking about, I might make a post on this. Speaking of, this whole thing is just an intervention for me to make more posts. No, but yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Like, I hate that culture of no excuses. Personally.
Yeah, I love like motivation. I love push. I love when people have the drive and like they want to go after something. Like if you're in that mindset, like go ahead, like drive 150%. Like I've had clients like that and like I love that. Go for it. Like do your thing. Like if you want to, hit it all the time and you want to do that, like great. If you miss a day, like as long as you're not like beating yourself up if you miss a day, like then it's perfectly fine. But there's plenty of people that aren't like that. And like, I think that's the problem with like that, that sliding scale of things again, when someone's on, that's like one extreme of people that are like, don't miss a day, don't miss a day, don't miss a day. But I don't think most people live there. And with, they're kind of like, there's always an excuse. You can always make a good excuse, I think, for anything. So like if you have like something that goes on and you miss a workout, that's okay. Like you gotta let it roll off your back and get right back to it the next day or whenever your next workout's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And maybe I shouldn't be hating on the people that are like, go, because I've been like that before. But you're right. Like I do think a better way of saying this is it is a balance where you don't make excuses and where you don't feel bad when you fuck up, which we've heard this mainly from Jordan.
Yeah.
And that's how I think of my own stuff, like my own fitness journey as well.
Yeah, I agree. Because that really helped me personally. Like once I'm able to like tell my clients that, like it has helped me, because you're going to miss days. Like I haven't worked out in the last 2 days, but like I'm not beating myself up over it. I was still active, still got my 10,000 steps. Whatever I missed a workout, that's okay. Like life is stressful for me right now. with my job and everything like that. And I wasn't able to get a workout in, and I'm probably not going to be able to get a workout in tomorrow. And you know what? Like, that's okay. Like, I'm not stressed about it at all. And it's not going to make me set back my progress. Like once you realize that, it's like, it's so empowering to be like, okay, like there's tomorrow, there's the next day. Like, you have so much time. I think people like try to rush to the end when it's like, the finish line is in a grave, like that's the finish line. Like, why are you rushing to it? Like this is your life, not your, just like your vacation in 3 months or, whatever it may be, or looking great,
Yeah, no, I mean, this definitely relates. So in January, I was working in Boston, and I quit my job and I was going to go travel. I'm Egyptian, so I went to Egypt. Yeah, it was awesome. But I went for 3 weeks and obviously didn't work out. I ate all the food, and I kind of had to mentally prepare myself because I had lived in the gym environment. I worked at a gym. I could go to the gym whenever I wanted to, basically. So I had to prepare myself like, okay, like just because you're taking a month off, you've worked out every single week for, not every week, but every single week for a couple of years. Like, this is okay. But talking to yourself and noticing that, hey, I looked a little less muscular. I looked a little more to love in some places. So having that discussion and saying like, Sarah, obviously you'll get back on track, but I still had to have this like coaching moment with myself. So that totally makes sense as well. And I think, I do think it's normal. I do think it's normal to go through periods of times where you don't work out and you just get back on because I was living life. And that's my reason or excuse or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's going to be, I think the more rigid you are, like from the get-go, the harder it is for you to adapt. So you have to go through another whole separate journey each and every time, where if you can figure out a way to, be flexible and work like your diet and your fitness into your lifestyle and make it enjoyable, it just becomes easier to ebb and flow with life. Because just like you, like I just moved, 10 hours back home to New Jersey. Like I've had to change my whole lifestyle, my workouts, my nutrition, my fitness in every aspect of my life. And like if I wasn't okay with that and I was super rigid about like, the food I need to eat and the workouts I needed to get into, like I would not have succeeded. Like I've actually gotten closer to my fitness goals over the last couple months than the previous 3 months. So like you can make progress, just because it doesn't look exactly the same as it did, 6 months ago. Like we all need to be more adjustable, with our diet and our fitness. And, I think the more adaptable you are, like the more likely you are to succeed, especially like with this whole COVID thing. Like, when do we know the next thing that, pandemic or something's going to happen where you can't make it to the gym? How adaptable are you going to be to it? Because I saw a lot of people that got really, really mad about not being able to go to the gym because it was going to ruin their progress, especially in the powerlifting world where like if you didn't have access to those weights, you can't do powerlifting workouts. That's just a fact. You can't. Definitely.
I understand.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't do fitness. It doesn't mean you can't adapt to it. Like, so what?
Sorry.
So go, what were you saying?
I was going to say also, so I was thinking about this too. So I was a powerlifter and I obviously couldn't. So then I was going into bodybuilding work and lots of reps. And I was thinking about this, like when I go back to the gym, I'll be able to make newbie gains. Like, honestly, because you haven't had this amount of weight. So there's almost like a light at the end of the tunnel. And obviously I learned all these different things that I hadn't been thinking about. And it helped me with my clients because I'm like, oh, they're training at home. I'm training at home. Like this.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, like there is this, think about someone with anxiety. Uncertainty is like,
oh yeah. There's plenty of that right now.
I know. But I also feel like, so I've taken like an anxiety course, kind of like with an anxiety coach.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how anxiety is there to teach you. So instead of like fixating on it and getting really scared and stuff, this is way easier said than done. This is just the simple version, but you kind of like find what it's trying to teach you. So what is COVID trying to teach you, and hopefully people get back to the gym when it's safe. But yeah, that was something else I had been thinking about COVID, because obviously it's challenging for everyone, especially people with anxiety.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm a planner, and I love to look ahead and kind of see where the next month, 2 months, 3 months are coming, but that's like not possible right now, obviously, with everything. So it is definitely can be taxing, on your mental health in general. But I think that's where fitness comes even like into a bigger play. Like I feel like I was so much stronger because I was able to go for walks and be physically active, throughout all of quarantine,
Yes, I 100%. The walks, I was living with my parents in Florida in an elderly community. So
Okay.
the walks were everything. Just imagine being trapped in with your parents
Oh yeah.
for 7 months. It was, but walking and lifting is amazing.
Yeah. And I would, kind of talking a little bit about that, like how, like, what have you seen like with your clients who, and maybe your own journey, like how has fitness helped, kind of help you cope with that anxiety and help you maybe, improve it and like, kind of cope with it in general?
Oh yeah. Well, definitely it's done a lot for me. Well, okay. So like a lot of people, I first came to fitness to lose weight. Like I had gained a lot. I was binge eating because of anxiety.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I stepped into at least the lifting realm. But I did, like, I lifted, I lost weight, I felt better about myself, which is a mental benefit. But since becoming a trainer, I definitely work with a lot of people who want to lose fat and gain muscle, which is totally normal and valid. But I kind of realized that a lot of people were shit talking themselves, and and we hear it all day. I hear a lot of people be like, "Oh, my legs, oh, I'm disgusting." Like they use like mean language to themselves, and I don't allow it. Like I don't like that, but I understand because I've had some of these same thoughts. But coming from that background, I really like try to protect myself from thinking these negative thoughts about myself. And for me, training, there's nothing wrong with wanting to lose weight. I totally understand. I've been there and I am there because I live in this society.
Yeah.
But my main goals when I train are to get stronger, because I've realized that getting stronger, you kind of like you end up losing weight and gaining muscle, but you're not focused on it. And I used to get like stressed about numbers because I did a lifting competition, and like failing a squat or something would really stress me out. So I mainly try to work out because I'll feel better. And it's not always during, but after I feel way better. And that's been something that's kept me. And I was thinking about this, like people who have a physique goal, it can keep them for a long time, but eventually people will get to the physique goal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So something that's more motivating. And I had a client tell me this. He's like, I don't want like I don't want a competition. I don't want a weight goal. I just want to train to be consistent. And I was like, holy shit, that's exactly how I think of it as well.
Yeah.
And that's what's kept me going for so many years. Like I feel better, I'm stronger. And like my goal is like consistency. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to look better. But like I kind of protect myself from that goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it completely does. I think what gets people to stay with fitness a lot of times is not like the physical aspect, but the mental health benefits. I've always kind of preached to people that like that's what you're going to see first, and that's what's going to keep you here long term and motivate you long term is like those mental health benefits. Are you enjoying your workout? Does it make you feel better? At the end, do you feel stronger? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel confident, because you are doing this exercise or you're doing this workout? So I think that's like a big like factor that like most people don't even like consider when, doing fitness. They always think about like exactly what you said, losing weight or gaining muscle, looking better, which is no problem. Like I have no problem with that whatsoever. Like you should, be comfortable in your body and look, the way you want to look, to a certain degree. But like, don't discount those mental health benefits that come along with it that you might not think you need, that you might not even want, but like you need it to keep going.
Exactly. And that's something that's being in this industry, it can be a very superficial, booty out industry, and something that I kind of protect myself with and my clients. So when a client comes to me and says like, I'm disgusting, I'm fat or whatever, like really mean stuff to themselves, to me, I'm like, I don't see that. Like you're a person, and like, I don't think of them as those words that they're describing. So that's actually like translated to me. And I think about that for myself. I'm like, oh, Sarah, like, oh, your stomach looks less flat than usual. I'm like, oh, but that doesn't mean anything about me as a person. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's a blessing that I've gotten from this job. And I'm human. So sometimes I say like, oh, I look a certain way that I don't want to look. But I always go back to, and this is hard with anxiety because anxiety is trying to tell you you're not worthy or whatever. Yeah. So like, but hearing other people do it, you're like, oh, I don't think of them as that. Mm-hmm. Why would I think of myself as that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly. I think we perceive, especially like with social media now, and we have all this access to all these people, and we had all this like, this green veil, like everyone's life is perfect, that they always, look this, and they have this perfect body, and it always looks this perfect way, and that perfect light and camera angle and everything like that. And it really like beats ourselves up. Like I know I find myself doing the same thing. Like I have to block people out of my Instagram or my Facebook because, when their stuff comes on my feed, it makes me anxious. It makes me upset about myself, or it just, makes me feel a way that I don't want to feel or don't need to feel. So I just block it and I get rid of it. And I, choose not to look at it anymore, because if it keeps happening and you keep seeing it all the time and it makes you feel a certain way, you got to, address that and get rid of it.
Hell yeah. Agreed. And I always think, I don't know if this is good or bad, but when I see like perfectly curated photos, I'm like, oh, they might not be that happy. Yeah. And I think that's true. Like just because you have society's perfect body, it doesn't mean you're happy. And I think when my clients come to me, they're telling me that they want to be happy. So A, you could change like your whole body and make it society's perfect body. Or B, you can change that. Like choose for someone, I'll definitely support them in whichever goal that they want. But that is something that I personally think about. I'm like, yeah, I'd rather be happy, but it does take work. It's challenging.
Yeah. And I agree 100%. I don't know if I was talking with someone or it was on a solo episode, but I was talking about that exact thing. Like you can lose all this weight, you can, gain all this muscle, get this perfect body. But if you don't address the mental health side of things, or, how you think about yourself, you're still going to end up being the same person, just in a different body. Yes. Like it doesn't equate to it. And I think that's what a lot of people, forget, that they think that, that bodybuilder on stage feels great about themselves, when really on the inside they could, but on another side, they could hate themselves. They could hate the way they look. They could be so self-conscious about their body and they feel like they don't, deserve to be on that stage, when they could be super lean and jacked and everyone would be like, wow, they have the perfect body. Mm-hmm. Amen. Yeah. So you got to address that, in the head, you always have your head. So you got to make sure make sure it's on right, and make sure that you're, dealing with, everything that's going on there, and that, inner voice, which, it is difficult to do. I think all of us have, like, sometimes it's like those negative voices that just like creep in.
Yeah. It's called being a human.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to learn to cope with those voices, and, you have to have a louder voice that says, no, that's not right. Like, that's not true. Like, I feel great. I look great. And yeah, there might be a little extra flab there, but who cares?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, easier said than done, but I totally agree. But again,
like, it always is. It always is.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I personally believe this. When now my clients are, maybe they'll listen and now they'll know. But it's not like I invalidate like looking, because I also understand that confidence and like achieving a goal, not that I discredit that or invalidate that, because I definitely don't. Am I frozen?
Oh, there you go. I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I was just, did you hear what I last said?
Maybe just keep going.
I was saying how it's not that I personally believe that, but it's not like I don't invalidate people who want to lose weight, who want to gain muscle, who want to physically change, because I've 100% been there and I understand. Yeah,
no, I agree. I appreciate, like, if people come, everyone has, that's their first initial thing is like, oh, I want to tone up, I want to gain muscle, I want to, lose weight, which is like 100% okay. Like I almost think that almost every fitness coach has some aesthetic goal, in mind for themselves, that they want to look a certain way or feel a certain way. So like, there's nothing wrong with those goals. Like for some people need to lose weight. Like that's like for their, not just physically, but like for their actual health. Like you would be a healthier human if you weighed 5 to 10 pounds less.
Yes.
You would also look better, maybe, to yourself if you thought that, but like for your actual health, it's probably a good thing if you lost a little bit of weight.
Amen. I also think about that. So even if the people's goals, obviously everything's different.
Yeah.
Depending on what someone's goal is, but we're always doing some sort of functional training so that they like live in the world healthier. Like they can carry their groceries better, they can pick up their kids better, they can, not have low back pain. Like, that's also kind of like a side effect, or I don't know, like weight loss is kind of like a side effect to that functional. Yeah. That's a buzzword, functional training. Yeah.
No, I 100% agree. I attest to most of my results I've gotten over the last few months over just being more physically active, not doing more exercise, because I was doing about 5 to 6, workouts per week during quarantine. But now I'm just more physically active, walking over 10,000 steps almost every single day, almost 15,000, on days that I coach. And like, that's just, like just being more functionally active, will help you, get those results. And that's like another part of like that, training that people that forget about is like just being able to do those things you said, like pick up their kid and, run around with their kid and, carry their groceries and just be able to live life easier.
Yeah. One of the best things that my client ever told me, maybe that was like the funniest thing. Yeah. She said she went to a wedding and she could like drop it low so much better than she ever could.
Yeah. Like, there's another side effect, it's easier to squat,
Yeah, definitely.
Especially if she has heels on. There you go. There's an added challenge for you.
Yeah. Strength training.
Exactly. And so it all boils down into like every aspect of our life. Like fitness isn't just like this one area. It intertwines with everything that goes on because it involves your body, and you have to take your body everywhere, your mind and, your physical body. Yeah. So like if you're physically not doing well, it's going to impact every aspect of your life. So like fitness is intertwined with everything, and fitness can help with everything that you do.
I totally agree. I love that we're talking about this because I was thinking about this as well. And I feel like for my anxiety, obviously fitness has been a huge, huge part of it. And I think I would be suffering if I hadn't found sports, hadn't found running, hadn't found lifting. But anyways, like another thing is that I think some people like overdo. We were talking about this in the beginning, the spectrum. People like only use exercise for their mental health. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to me, because I used to have such severe anxiety, and I still have it, I just cope with it better. But I don't think it's just the gym. And I think that, no offense to men, I think men will like exclude anything else besides like sports and the gym. Yeah. And I think that's a disservice to like your mind. Not that exercise isn't great, but that's always, and my belief is everyone has different levels of anxiety and like mental strain, I guess I would call it. And it's not like I can be like, okay, well, go journal, go to therapy, go to the gym, you'll be good. It's kind of like this lifelong process of finding out, okay, like talking to a therapist helps, journaling does help, meditation, like eating more carbs. That was something I dealt with. I was on I didn't do it purposefully, but I was on a very low carb diet, and I had horrible sleep. My anxiety was super high. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's exactly true. And I agree with you. I think, exercise can be a great coping method, but it shouldn't be your only coping method. I think most people should have a couple different outlets of, things that you use for coping, and like, whether it be exercise, other hobbies you enjoy doing, talking, to a therapist, or other friends or family that are supportive and will listen to you, a significant other as well. I think having more than one outlet is a good thing to have, because at some point, like a pandemic might happen, you might not be able to go to the gym. So now your one and only outlet to cope with everything is ruined. Now you're in a super stressful time, and now you have to learn how to cope with that in a whole new way that you've never done before. Like, that's just another thing to add to your already overfilling plate of stress and anxiety and, whatever you may be coping with at that point.
Yes, I agree.
So having those different, avenues, because I agree with you. Well, I think a lot of people that do just go to the gyms for coping, they don't have, the gym is the only thing they have. And then I think that's why some people got really upset when gyms closed, and they were closed for months and months and months and months. It was because it was the only thing they had. There was like gyms are, as much as they are for physical, it's for that mental health. It's that community. It's, the place where they can just de-stress from their whole life. So that's a big part of so many people. The gym I work for currently, like, community is a huge aspect of what we do. And it's probably one of the biggest selling points too. Where I work is that it's a community. It's a family. Like, you're here. We want you to succeed, and we will, we want to bring you in. Like, you will meet people, you will meet friends, you will have people that come to the same class as you. You'll have, this will be your fitness family, essentially.
Yes. Wow. Okay. I love that. Social connection, like you're saying, definitely important to dealing with anxiety. A couple of my clients that I work with, they have anxiety, and they say something like, I don't know anyone who has anxiety. I don't talk to anyone about this. And I find that interesting, because I'm really blessed, and I have pretty much all my friends have anxiety. I think like attracts like, but that I do have people that I talk regularly with daily about anxiety. Yeah. And I think that it is interesting, because I can't imagine where my mind would be at if I wasn't able to just tell like you, hey, John, like, I have anxiety. You know what I'm saying? And I do think that it really is important. But yeah, I always try to be aware, because sometimes, like, have you heard of all or nothing thinking?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
100%.
Sometimes when I'm like, you need social connection and journaling and meditation, like sometimes that can be so stressful. So I do think different things. I just want to disclaim it and say different things work from different people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think everyone's got to experiment. Like, I'm a big experimenter. I try different things all the time, whether it's different strategies to like get more work done, or to, whatever it may be. I like to try different things. That's like my ADHD mind. I know all over the place, like to try new things all the time. And I think that you find what works for you, and you find what works for you at that moment, because different times in your life, you're going to need different things. So you might not be ready to talk to a therapist, but maybe journaling is a good way to do it. Or maybe being in a gym, listening to music and, working through your body, that's your way of coping, or, going for walks and, and that, helps you deal with it, cope with your anxiety. You got to find what works for you at that point, and it's probably not just one thing. It's probably a combination of a bunch of different things. And you got to find what, fits in your lifestyle and, what you want to do, because some people, journaling sounds dreadful. Some people don't like to write, and, like, that's okay. Like, it gives them anxiety to journal, like that's like, I know people that would be exactly like that, and they would prefer to go for a walk or go for a run, to clear their mind and to, cope with that stress, or, just hang out and talk with a friend over a beer or something like that.
Yeah, definitely fair. Definitely fair. Experiment. I love that word. I use that word with my clients all the time, especially if they do have anxiety, because I think sometimes when we're, like we were saying earlier, we don't like people with anxiety. We don't like uncertainty, and we want to do things 100% correctly. So kind of like throwing that word in, experiment with something, has always, even for myself, I'm like, okay, I'm going to experiment with being more mindful when I eat this week. Yeah. Rather than like, you have to hit 1,600 calories and X amount of protein. You're just like, okay, I'm just going to experiment and hopefully do better than last week. That's honestly how I approach nutrition and exercise, I guess. Yeah,
that's all it is. That's 100% what it is. And, I come from a very scientific background. So like, experiments are like the way I think. And I think that's all it is. It's like, nutrition and fitness is experimenting with different styles and different things to see what fits within you. I've tried a whole host of different eating like diets and techniques, and I find like intermittent fasting works for me, and being flexible dieting works for me. And I have no exact, fitness style. I like strength training. I like running. I like rock climbing, and I just make everything work with me, and that makes me feel good, and it gives me the body I like. And if I need to increase something or decrease something, I figure it out. And, you have to figure out what works best for you, because sometimes people like, group fitness classes because they like, that atmosphere, or they like taking spin classes, or they like, going for runs or lifting weights by themselves, or powerlifting, martial arts, whatever it may be. Like, you got to experiment and find what works best for you.
Definitely. I mean, we know there's some science somewhere in there. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think someone is going to have a longer, like, they're going to have more longevity if they like what they're doing. And I've had a lot of longevity because I do enjoy it, and not always. Like, there's many times where I say, fuck this, I don't want to work out. My roommate knows. She's like, I wish your clients could see how much you complain, because I do complain. Like, I do not want to, especially during COVID. But I know that it would make me feel better. So I did it. And I do feel better.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I have that, 10-minute rule. I go in, if I don't want to work out, I, do an exercise or two. I pick whatever 2 exercises I want, even if they're not on my workout, and I do them. And then at the end, if I don't want to continue, I don't continue, or I pick some more exercises and I do it. And that is what it is. And, that's better than if I didn't do the workout at all. The victory is, getting to the gym, getting to do the workout, even if the workout wasn't 100% of what it was supposed to be, you still got it done. And that's better than if you didn't do it at all.
How often do you end up doing a full workout with the 10-minute rule?
More often than not, I'd have to say. I do, at least, I'm a big superset person. So like, at least I'll get at least 2 to 3 different supersets in, 6 exercises, like, that's a solid workout right there. Most workouts don't need to be much longer than that, unless, you're training for more. So like, that's a perfect workout for me.
I was going to say, I bet you probably end up doing it, because I do the same thing. Yeah. Because I'm kind of competitive. Yeah. And once I'm in it, I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to do the full thing.
Yeah, exactly. And if you give yourself, that, like, you give yourself the way out, you give yourself an out, that at the end of the day, if you don't do it, that's okay. But if you do it, that's like a major, huge victory. And like you did something that you weren't going to do. You gave yourself a chance to do it and you succeeded with it. If you didn't, that's okay. Tomorrow's another day. Come back at it.
Yeah. And that's a different energy than you fucking have to do this. No excuses, bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's definitely like, I prefer that first energy because it's so much calmer. But it is normal. Like that shaming of yourself is very normal. And it's hard to learn how to not do that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is really hard to, get over that negative self-talk that you were talking about before, that voice in your head that, makes you feel really bad for not doing the things that you set out to do, and you had a goal and you didn't check one box, and now you're going to beat yourself up over it. And it's like, that's not at all what you need to do. You don't need to be 100%. You need to be 80%. If you hit 80% of what you're setting out to do, if those targets are on, towards your goal, if you hit 80%, you're going to see results.
Yeah.
It's very hard not to.
Hell yeah. You're right.
So awesome. So Sarah, it was great talking with you today. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that was really quick. That felt like 5 minutes.
I know it's been like an hour. It's been a great conversation, and it was a great time talking with you. I think everyone who's listening will, have gotten a lot from that. And I know I took a lot from this, and, it's got my wheels turning about, some things that maybe I want to start covering a little bit more with mental health and everything like that. And I love this conversation that we had, and definitely, want to have you back on a little, another time, and, dive even more deeply into this. I think you got a lot to say, from your own personal experience and, from with clients, everything like that.
Yeah. And next time I'll do my hair.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Take a shower. I just worked out without the shower. Okay. But you can find me. The best place to find me is on Instagram, Anxiety Fitness Coach, one word, nothing fancy, or my website, www.anxietyfitnesscoach.com. And my Facebook is my personal one. But yeah, look me up.
Awesome. I'll put that in the show notes for you guys. So if anyone wants to, check out Sarah's stuff, go ahead, click on those links. She's definitely got some great Instagram content. Be sure to, follow her and everything like that. And Sarah, it was great talking with you. It was great catching up with you. And hopefully we can, talk again soon.
Yeah, John, it was nice to talk to you and meet you. And yeah, let's do this again.
Awesome. You have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Simply Fitness podcast. Because you listened to this episode, I want to give you something away for free. In the show notes, I have a link to my free fat loss cookbook. This cookbook contains over 20 recipes that are specifically designed to help you lose weight. They are filled with protein, they are simple to make, and they take away that bland, boring diet food. So if you want to upgrade your diet today, go to the show notes, click on the link, and go get your free fat loss cookbook. And make sure you come back for more episodes of the Simply Fitness podcast.